It's June 27th, 1976, at Athens International Airport. Air France Airbus A300 sits on the runway, preparing for takeoff. Inside, there are passengers chatting, settling in, and getting comfortable. An elderly man carefully folds his newspaper. A businessman sips his coffee and checks his watch. Everything was going smoothly as it should. Everything seemed calm until something strange happened. As the boarding gates were about to close, 4 new passengers boarded the plane. To everyone else, they're just regular travelers. But as soon as the flight takes off, one of the 4 rises from his seat, making a sharp noise. Every head turns back to see what's happening, but what they witness is something unbelievable. They are looking at a man with a gun and a grenade in his hands. People freeze in fear, but what no one knows is that these 4 are about to turn Flight 139 into a flying prison. Who were these hijackers and what did they want? Let's dive into the dark side of dollars because this is the craziest hijacking of all time. At 8:59 a.m., passengers leave their flight terminal to board Air France Flight 139. The flight was from Tel Aviv to Paris with a short layover in Athens. For most, it's just another flight, a routine journey across the Mediterranean. But not everyone feels at ease.
I don't trust Athens. If I were a terrorist, that's where I'd get on.
His wife said his words sounded quite paranoid, but they were exactly right. Athens International Airport had a notorious reputation for weak airport security. At 12:15 p.m., Flight 139 lands in Athens, where more passengers board the flight, including the 4 people who are about to change history. It's now 1:10 p.m. over Greece. As the plane flies through the sky, the red seatbelt sign quickly turns off. Flight attendants walk down the aisles, smiling as they serve passengers drinks and refreshments. And then a man quickly jumps up from his seat with his arms raised. When people turned to see him, he had a gun in one hand and a grenade in the other. This is the moment when passengers froze in shock.
Yeah, this plane is now under our control.
Beside him, a woman pulls out a pistol from her bag and shouts in a strong accent in English. Screams filled the cabin. A mother wraps her hands tightly around her child. An old man gasps, his fingers digging into the armrest. Flight attendants stood motionless, their trays shaking in their hands. And inside the cockpit, Captain Mikhail Bakos hears the sudden noise and movement. He turns, only to find a gun pointed directly at his head. The hijackers moved quickly. They were very well trained and highly organized. This was not a desperate act of rebellion. This was a carefully planned military operation. The passengers don't know it yet, but they are now a part of a deadly game. The rules had now changed and Flight 139 was no longer headed for Paris. But one question still remained. Where were they all going? In the cockpit, the leader of the hijackers placed his gun behind the captain's head and demanded a change in course. Without putting up a fight, the captain does exactly what he's told. And the new destination is none other than Benghazi, Libya. Passengers whispered nervously, exchanging fearful eye contact, thinking to themselves, what do they want and where are they taking us? And surely enough, the answer comes soon. After refueling in Libya, the plane takes off again. This time, its new course leads to a place no one had expected. A place that would become the stage for one of the most daring hostage rescues of all time. At 2 a.m. on June 28th, the plane landed at Entebbe Airport in Uganda. There were armed Ugandan soldiers standing ready outside, all of their rifles shining in the moonlight. The hijackers step forward and give an unthinkable order.
All Israeli and Jewish passengers step forward.
The passengers look at each other, everyone terrified, because at this point they knew this was not just a regular hijacking. This was something far more sinister. And then came another shock that no one was prepared for. Uganda's dictator, none other than Idi Amin, arrives at the airport. The hostages' worst fears were now confirmed. They were now pawns in a deadly game of geopolitics. And no one is coming to save them. Or perhaps, maybe someone is. The next day, on June 29th, a red telephone rings in a government office in Tel Aviv. An Israeli government officer picks up the phone.
Hello, who's this?
We have your people.
Who are you?
Israel must release 40 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails, along with 13 others held in Kenya, France, Switzerland, and Germany.
Concerned by the threat issued by the hijackers, the officer runs to get his superiors to assist him. But what if they fail to comply? This time, the hostages die.
We don't have a choice. If we negotiate, they'll do this again and again.
But there's one problem. Entebbe is 2,500 miles away. A rescue mission seems impossible.
Israeli Prime Minister Yakaz Rabin is in the room and listens to the call in silence.
What if we don't ask for permission?
Then a voice cuts through all the tension. The room falls silent. Brigadier General Dan Shomron, one of Israel's top military strategists, lays a map on the table. He plans a daring nighttime assault on Entebbe Airport. Israel would use its military force deep inside enemy territory. It was dangerous, but if it works, it will go down in history. It's June 30th, 1976. Israel's top military minds gather in a secret underground bunker. The mission has zero room for mistakes and a unique set of challenges. First up is a 3,800-mile round trip. It's longer than any raid in history. The second is an unknown number of hijackers and Ugandan soldiers. There were C-130 Hercules transport planes which were flying low and undetected. There was a fake presidential convoy using a black Mercedes identical to Idi Amin's. But Israeli intelligence worked night and day analyzing every detail. And luck was on their side because they just found a breakthrough. A construction company in Israel had actually helped build Entebbe Airport years earlier, and they still had the blueprints. The Israeli forces now knew the exact layout of the terminal. They memorized every hallway, every door, and every window. They even built a replica of the airport for training. Every second counts, but by July 3rd, the mission was ready to go. On July 3rd, 1976, 4 C-130 Hercules planes sat on the runway at Israeli air bases. Inside, 100 commandos sat in complete silence. They all mentally prepared for the stress and the dangers of this mission. But who is leading this massive mission? It's none other than the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, Yonatan Netanyahu. His calm demeanor hid the weight on his shoulders.
When we're back, you lead them home, sir. And I'll make sure they get there.
He understood all the risks. If they fail, it won't just mean hostage deaths. It will mean the death of Israel's military reputation. And that's why failure is not an option. Meanwhile, the first plane roars to life, and slowly the aircraft lifts into the night sky, heading straight for Uganda. On July 4th, the first Israeli C-130 lands at Entebbe Airport in Uganda. Now, the back door opens and a black Mercedes rolls out, flanked by 2 Land Rovers. The Ugandan guards at the gate hesitate. The commandos stay in character, waving confidently, trying to keep the illusion. For a moment it works, but then everything changed.
Looks like Idi Amin is here, huh? But he always alerted us before coming. Does that mean... No. No. What?
A Ugandan soldier raises his rifle. He knew something wasn't right. He moved his finger towards the trigger, but before he could fire, a silenced gunshot takes him down. The deception is over. The commandos rush forward, weapons drawn, and now we know that the battle for Entebbe has just begun. Inside the terminal, hostages huddled together. They were all confused and terrified. The only thing they could hear was gunfire and explosions. But then something snaps them all out of it. A voice booms over a loudspeaker.
This is the Israeli Defense Force. We have come to take you back home.
Some hostages break down in tears. Some can't believe what they're hearing. But what comes next is no less than a horrific moment. A hostage stands up in confusion. One of the commandos mistakes him for a hijacker, and a single shot rings out and he's taken down. This makes it one of the few tragic wrong steps taken in the entire mission. But the commandos took no time. They pushed forward, clearing the terminal. The hijackers fired back, but they were outmatched. One by one, they all fell. The entire battle lasted just 30 minutes. By 11:35 p.m., all 7 hijackers were dead, the hostages were freed, and the commandos rushed to evacuate them. But the battle wasn't over yet. What was coming next was something unbelievable. Just as the rescue seemed complete, the Ugandan soldiers opened fire. They were everywhere, on the rooftops, in the shadows, and in the control tower. One of the Israeli soldiers falls as he was shot in the leg. Another returns fire, hitting a Ugandan soldier.
Hey bud, you will be okay.
A chaotic firefight erupts, and then a single bullet changes everything. Yonatan Netanyahu, the mission's commander and older brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, was shot in the chest. A bullet tears through his armor and he falls to the ground as his men rush to help him. But it's too late, the leader of the mission is gone. And for a split second, the Israeli commandos froze. But one soldier breaks the silence. The mission must continue. Despite the gunfire, the chaos, and the loss of their leader, the commandos push forward. One by one, the hostages board the plane, and at 11:52 p.m., the last soldier climbs aboard. The C-130 Hercules engines roar, back to life. As the planes begin their escape, a massive explosion rips through the airport. The Israelis have destroyed Idi Amin's air force. On July 4th, 1976, the planes touched down on Israeli soil at 6 a.m. The nation erupts in celebration, but amidst the cheers, there's mourning. Yonatan Netanyahu's body is carried off the plane draped in the Israeli flag. He is the only Israeli soldier that lost that night, but because of him, 102 hostages survived. It's no wonder that this hijacking story shook the entire world. And to the history, the impossible is possible. But what do you think? Should governments negotiate with terrorists or not? Let us know in the comments.